friends, welcome to the Inspiration Collaboration Design Team November video. This month we are all making a December daily mini album. Each of us will be doing 5 to 6 pages, so you'll have one page from December 6th through the 25th. We will be using the Traditions of Christmas suite, so that could be the scrapbook workshop that you see here. It could be the paper pack, the DSP, the coordinating cardstock, any of the stamps and embellishments. And there are even Memories and More cards and an ephemera pack too that you could get that go along with this very, very well. These are the papers from the scrapbook workshop. These first two are the exclusive sheets, so they are white on the back. And these are the 3 papers that you'll get. 2 of them are exactly the same as in the paper pack, and the third is the same, but it's 2 sheets combined, and that of course is without the gold foil that's in the paper pack. Here is the cardstock that comes with the workshop kit, so that you can make the pages that they've designed. Of course, the sticker sheet as well. You'll see there are numbers 1 through 25 on there that you can use in your album. It of course will come with instructions and photo placeholders. And this workshop comes with 2 sheets of pre-printed ephemera. They're pre-cut and ready to pop out and add to your pages. There are journaling spots and borders and little flowers and tabs all ready to add to your page. This is the coordinating cardstock that you can get, and this pack has 2 sheets of each of the colors. So let's look at the pages that we'll be using. There are 3 of this quad page, there are 2 of this double, and there are 3 each of this 2 sizes, and then 1 of the 6x8. So let's start with day 1. So for the first page, we are using the quad 3x4 page, and I wanted to use the corners of one of those exclusive papers. So I cut the corners off of all 4 sides. I'm adding photos to the bottom front of 2 of these, and then I am flipping them in the direction that the flip flaps will be going to add my photo placeholders on the back so that those cameras are the correct direction. And now we're just going to put all of these pieces into the flip flaps. It makes it a little bit easier to put the flip flaps onto the pages. And then we're going to tuck in our other pieces so that we know where everything goes. And here is a journal piece from the pop-outs that I wanted to give a little bit more room to either add more photos or add lots of journaling. And it is meant to be pulled out as opposed to just opened. And we are going to add on those flip flaps. Now these are super sticky, so you probably don't want to just peel off the whole backing and then go to lay it down. And after you get them laid down, you do want to burnish these with your bone folder or something strong like that. When you first lay them down, you can see the air bubbles trapped because of the style of the glue. And so once you burnish that, those all disappear and it lays flat. So it's very, very nice. So here I did cut it. I was planning on putting it inside the page protector, the flap, and then I decided that I would just put it on top like the rest. And you can see I do need to trim a little bit of that there so that both of these flaps can open. Now I saw this and I thought this was great, and so I went ahead and did it, and I covered the part of the page where the holes are to go into the mini album, and I think it looks wonderful. So here you can see I am building up my centerpiece, and I do have 2 circles cut. I do end up only using 1, but if you wanted, you could sandwich your flip flap between the 2 circles, and so would be a pool party circle on the inside and the outside. That is up to you. You also wouldn't have to necessarily make any erasing happen if you did that. Now I'm going to take this sticker and I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. And I decided that I wanted to make it into a banner. So I just grabbed a scrap of Pool Party and laid it out and futzed with it until it was how I wanted it. Then trimmed off the excess cardstock so that it actually looked like it was all one piece, and then cut the banner ends into the end of the sticker. And it turned out super cute, I think. And then I did make sure to add a little bit of glue on the back of the cardstock to make sure that that piece stuck as well. And here you have a quick overview again of the whole thing. Okay, on to day 2. So, just because a page is designed to look a certain way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. So here and from here out, I do actually add that strip first. It's so much easier, so much easier. All right, so I have all of these pieces and I have base cardstock. It is white. And I am gluing these journal pieces. They are one of the papers that I cut, and I'm gluing those to the bottom and the top. And it looks weird at first, but once it's all put together, it makes a little bit more sense. I'm adding these 2x2 squares to the top and bottom of each of those pieces as well. And that is the main decorating for the page, not the only. So we'll get these added in. And then we're going to add our flip flaps, or at least ready them. So I am using the center piece of the corners from the first page as the center for this page. And I am just building up my cluster, figuring out where all the pieces should go, what should be popped up and what shouldn't be. And originally I was going to put these flowers on the outside and decided to put them on the inside so that you can see that you can use dimensionals and foam tape inside the flip flaps as well. And of course everything is meant to be adjusted. I did cut apart those pine leaves so that the shorter one could be on the shorter side. All right, so we will add that in. And before we attach this to the page, we are going to make sure that it is lined up, evenly spaced between the patchwork squares, and then of course burnish that. We are going to line up the other flip-flop not only with that same gray space, but with the previous flip-flop as well, so they are all lined up and ready to go. And that is day 2. So on this one, I would put the day number sticker above the Deck the Halls so it's centered on that red and darker red tab. On to day 3. Now I am attaching the strips on the side with tear and tape. You do want to use a strong glue for that. Now I wanted this journaling square, but I didn't want it to say December documented. So I'm going to cover that with a little piece of the border sticker from the sticker sheet and another piece of scrap cardstock. And I do have my cardstock folded so it is 4x6, so technically 6x8 folded in half at 4. And then I'm just gluing these on top. Now, one of the things I would recommend is actually measure your pocket depending on which one you're using, because I found that on mine, and now mind you, I am not using the ones I should, there's actually extra space at the bottom. So measure your pocket that you're going to use to see if you maybe need to do 4 1/4 instead of just 4 to have it go all the way down to the bottom of your pocket. So we're just adding these pieces together. And I don't know that you can tell very well in the video, especially with how fast it's sped up, but that the border is longer than the paper that is inside. So here is day 3. You can add extra photos even without flip-flops. On to day 4. Now this one is actually the easiest, simplest page that I did out of my pages. And it's really very, very simple. So I do have stripes. This is from the center of the paper that had the gray border on it from a couple pages ago. And here I'm just going to fiddle with this until I like how it looks, and then just press everything down. These are all stickers from the sticker sheet. The piece that I glued onto the side, that one is from the border that you see there. I just cut it so I could use it. And I would actually cut these a little bit longer so they wrap around a little bit better. It would be a little bit easier. And of course, if you have your photos, you could glue these directly onto your photo and you wouldn't have to wrap them around the back. Easy peasy. Day 5. Don't be afraid. This one has a lot of work. So I am taking that sticker, and I do have some backings from the previous strips on the back so that I didn't have to worry about it getting stuck to anything in the process. I just trace it, we're cutting it out, and then we're going to set it aside because we do need it. We just don't need it yet. Now you will want to erase your markings, your pencil markings. Just be careful when you do. Alright, so these are some of those border strips that I have cut down. And then these are going to be the inside of the pages and the flip-flops. And I am going to pop up one of each of these photos. And I am also going to try to get the photos in a slightly different positioning on each of the pages so it's not too repetitive. So one will be glued down with Tombow liquid glue, and the others are popped up with the foam strips that I have cut down into shorter pieces. Our Take Your Pick tool is fabulous for getting the tape backing off of our dimensionals and foam strips and things like that. So as you can see, this does take a small bit of time, and I did rather put the mats on before the video started just to save a little bit of time, because I knew the video was going to be a bit long with the number of pages and the number of things I was doing to the pages. So you can see, especially on this one, and I did do this to the rest of them, I do have a strip of foam over the other photo, but I don't take the backing off of it so that you can still get the picture behind underneath without having to cut into it or anything like that. Alright, so now we're going to add on those flip-flops. And it is easier to burnish these without anything in the pockets yet, because then it lays more flat, but it can be done with the pockets full already. So you just want to make sure that you have everything lined up exactly as it should be and give it a great burnish. And now fill the pockets. So when I do my erasing here, which I think I managed to cut out a little bit, I did manage to wrinkle my cardstock, so be maybe a little bit more careful. So I have these leaves from the coordinating die set, and I have cut 2 of the pine leaves or evergreen, I don't know that they're pine, in light and dark for top and bottom, and then 2 of the leafy leaves in both light and dark. So then I'm just going to washi tape the piece that we cut to our page so it doesn't move, so I can get things lined up correctly. And then I just lay out the pieces and use tear and tape to get them attached. It would be easier when putting these clusters together if you were using glue dots, and of course I didn't think about that during the making of the video. It wasn't until later. So parts of it you will want to use the tear and tape, like attaching it to the page protector, but attaching the leaves and boughs and such together to themselves, glue dots would have been much easier. And then I trim off some of the excess because some of it does overlap just a little bit. And I was just showing you that I did get this from the sticker sheet. This we are going to attach to some white willow cardstock because it's a sticker and because we're going to be popping it up. That way it has more stability and it's not sticky, so it's not going to grab any hair or dust or anything like that from just being in a household. So here I'm just double checking really quick that I have everything cut nicely. And then I will go through and add a few more things. So if you don't have dots the right color, which I thought I did, but I did not get the dots, the sparkly dots for this suite, I'm just taking my cherry cobbler marker and coloring the white matte dots. And I will put a few layers of color on there. And on these ribbons, one side is shinier than the other, so it's a two-sided ribbon. Or one-sided ribbon. I forget which one it is. But basically, there's a side that you would rather not see. It's not that it's not pretty, it just isn't shiny. And so I folded these. You could just cut them and put them down. That would be just as easy. Or you can fold them, and I stapled them to help them stay together and save me some frustration. So I was not paying attention to how far out I was on the foam tape, so I do need to take some of that off, as you see. And then I am going to pop up these holly leaves with some miniature foam dots or miniature dimensionals. And I do have them taped together with a tiny bit of washi. So if you see that weird coloring, that's what that is. So repeat again for the other holly leaves. Alright, now we're going to attach it to our page. And of course, we're only doing half of it because we want our flip-flaps to open still. And then we're going to burnish that really well. And I realized I didn't take the backing off of a couple of those holly leaves, and so everything back together again. Pop on those holly berries, and we are good to go. So fun. Day 6. It's the last page for me, but definitely not the least. And we are using one of those quad pages again, the 3x4. And we're going to do some stuff. I know I cut out some of the futzing, mostly because my camera stopped recording. but I do a little bit more futzing than what you see. So here I'm just adding some cherry cobbler marker to my cups. And then I am going to add some marker, the Stampin' Write markers. And this is the Cloud Cover, I think it's called. It's one that did not work well in the ink pad. So I'm going to put some tear and tape on a scrap of cardstock, and then I'm going to trim it to a point and add it to the back of the whipped cream so I can attach it to the cup. It is a lot faster and a lot easier. And so here you can see I am using one of these pop-outs, the cut pieces, and I'm going to add this to the bottom of this tag, which you almost can't see on my desk. And then I try to arrange everything and get it to be how I want it and how I like it. I add this foam. I end up tearing it off, I believe off screen, and then I end up putting it back on again. And I am covering up one of these because I am expecting it to hang off of the side of the tag, and I wanted it to not be messy, which it very much was. So these pieces, because of how I cut the paper, are not 3 by 4 inches. They're 3 by 3.5 or 3 1/4, 3 and 3. I don't remember. I do have to measure them, but because of how my paper was cut, I just cut them into an almost square, and then added them to the back to some white cardstock. So you saw me add some more of those scallops on there, and they were cut a little bit too long because it was going to be easier for me to center them and cut off the excess than it would be for me to get it cut correctly with the scallops and such. So I am now adding some 3 by 3 photo placeholders to these little flip flaps. I did not actually put any photos onto, or photo placeholders onto the papers on the inside, but photos could be placed there very, very easily. So this is where you could add those photos underneath. Or you can just leave it as it is, and that's fine too. So we are going to put this one on, and because while the photos do cover, the flip flaps have to be large enough to have a seam, and so our 4 by 6 photo does not completely cover the two 3 by 3 photos. But you don't see very much of it on either side, and depending on what photos or whatnot you put in there, it'll just add to it. So here I'm choosing the different sentiments that I'm going to use on this page, and sticking them to a dimensional backer and one of the backers from the flip flaps. Now here I want to put the green dotted sticker around the front and the back of these photos. Now obviously these aren't photos, they are placeholders, so I am wrapping a piece of cardstock around them to give it a band so I can add this to my page and still be able to use it later. So I am just going to wrap this around and kind of create a belly band. Ends up being a slight bit too small, but that's okay. I just went ahead and put it in here anyway. When I get my photos in there, if it's still doing that, I can just cut it and attach them to the photos and have no problem at all. So I'm cutting each of these stickers into a banner. And I start doing the major part of the futzing around, trying to figure out how to lay everything down with everything that I want so that it A, fits, B, looks good, and C, works well together. And that there was where my camera stopped recording. So I swapped out for a larger tag. It's actually the same tag, just cut larger with the embossing machine. And then I cut a piece of DSP to go inside of it, and I think it just pops. So again, just trying to figure out how to have everything lay out. Would you believe I had more difficulty with this one than I did the big cluster on that previous page? I don't know why. So my secret is to washi tape everything together, and it would have been smarter for me to do it on the other side, but that's okay. So I am going to add tear and tape to all of them. The stickers probably would be sticky enough, but I want to make sure that nothing is going to fall off. So what I'm doing here is I am adding the tear and tape to the back of the tag, and I flipped it over like that so that I knew everything was right where it was supposed to be. And we'll get this tag added, make sure it's in the right spot, give it some burnishes, and then I'll take this tape off and put it on the outside like I was saying. And then I am going to trace around the end of these so I can lay them down in the exact same spot. And in doing so, I realized that those two bottom pieces were, or bottom one piece was a little bit too low. It didn't fit underneath the cups, which is what I wanted it to do. So I just took that piece off, and I do have to erase the mark that I made, so all's good there. Things, of course, adjusted, so I needed to move the sticker again. Get these cups popped up. And we'll add that sticker back in a whole different spot. This poor little stripey guy doesn't get put back on. I was going to put these on the cups and decided that they were a bit too big with everything else, and so they just kind of went into the cluster itself. And here I'm going to string some twine through with my secret weapon, flosser for braces. I love this thing. It makes things so easy. And that is day 6. And with that, we are done. let's take another quick look at all of these pages. Day 1, 4 flip flaps added. Our focal design is outside of the page protector. We have room for 8 photos and journaling, extra journaling, and even maybe more photos if you wanted. On day 2, our focal point is front and center still, but inside the flip flap, we have 2 flip flaps, 3 photos, and journaling space. Day 3, we have an easy way to add extra photos even if you don't have flip flaps, and we have room for 4 photos and some journaling. Day 4, super simple, 2 photos, no flips, no flaps. Day 5, a wow page, 8 photos, 2 flip flaps, and stunning. And day 6, our coffee page or hot cocoa, a large focal front image, our quad 3x4 page, great way to add photos and journaling. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me today. I hope I have inspired you with some of my pages, and I can't wait to see what you create. Make sure to check out all of the rest of the ladies' videos. You will have a full book for December Daily if you follow all of the pages that we show you. I can't wait to see you follow along and see your pages as well. And I will see you soon, friends. Have a great day.